I just want to give you a bit of an introduction into the Stellarium program. Now, where I am at the moment, I'm just going to minimize that and then I will open up Stellarium. Now, once you open up Stellarium, what you'll get is either a daytime scene or a nighttime scene. And the first thing that you need to do is actually change where we are looking from. So I'm going to move the pointer across here to the left and click on this icon where it says location window and change this to Sydney. You can see a list here. I've got to select Sydney from that list. It can take a little bit of time. Once Sydney is selected, then we close the window and we go across again and we'll set the time. Now, before we do that, I'll just move the pointer right down to the bottom left and click on a little arrow there, and that will fix that menu. And I'll do the same thing here for the horizontal menu. Now, to change the time, I'll move my pointer up here, click on this, and change it to, I've now got that on the 20th of the 5th of 2018, and I'll change this now to 9 o'clock. Now this one here will keep changing because this is the way in which the program works. It shows the different scenes at different times. Now, looking at what we are meant to become familiar with, we can go down here and look at the menu. Down here, for example, it tells us that we're looking at Earth. We can turn on the ground. If I click that, the ground disappears, and I should make the date disappear as well. Okay, so we're looking entirely at the sky. Quite handy to have the ground back again, so I'll click that again. The cardinal points, that is the north, south, east and west. We can see the south there. I'm just going to zoom out and that will enable me to see the others eventually. Okay, so there's east and west. We can have a look at the planets by moving our pointer across here to planet labels. Now this one here, I click that. Now at the moment there aren't any planets visible in the sky. Sorry, I'll click it now, there should be. The ecliptic is another thing that we want to look at. Now the ecliptic is an imaginary line on the sky that marks the annual path of the sun. Most of the planets may be found near the ecliptic. And we're going to learn more about the ecliptic later on. So I've adjusted this now to 9 p.m, which of course means that this is 21. So there it is there. And here we can see this seconds turning over. I'm not going to worry too much about that. So I'll just close our date and time. And one question we're asked is to identify the planets that can be visible on 2018. So let's have a look. I can see Jupiter up there and I'll scroll around. It's a bit wobbly, but never mind. There's the moon there. Okay, so we're back to north. All right, so we've seen Jupiter and we've seen, that's about it. Was that Saturn? We've seen Jupiter and we've seen Saturn. Now, one of the things that we can do with this particular program is focus on a particular planet, and we simply click on that. And once we do click on that, we get some information about that planet. Now, you can see that in the top left-hand corner. And one of the bits of information that we've got there, first of all, is magnitude. You can see that there. So that magnitude is minus 2.5. So that means to say that it's fairly bright. Now, the other things that we can see, and I'll just take this menu away for a moment, is we can see, I'll have to click back on here, Jupiter. What we can see here is the azimuth and the altitude. Now, at the moment, that azimuth says 62 and the altitude there says 58. Again, we can have a look at Saturn. So I'll move my pointer across here to Saturn, click on that, and over here you can see Saturn. And if I have a look there at its magnitude is 0.23. That's its apparent magnitude, of course. Its absolute magnitude happens to be minus 8.88. But anyway, let's move on and have a look at its azimuth. Its azimuth there is 105, and the altitude is 17 degrees, 59 minutes, so it might change in a moment. Now, other planets like Venus and Mercury, we can't see those at the moment. What I'm going to do is move the pointer across here and change the time. If I click here, I'll change that now to 5 p.m., which would be 17. 5:30. So I've got 5:30 there, 5:30 p.m. What we're interested in now is Venus. So I'm going to move the pointer over here again to where I can do a search. And I click on here and type in Venus. I type in Venus and click search. And there we see Venus there. I'll just take the time thing away. And again, have a look at the magnitude. So I can see there the magnitude is 3.91. I can have a look at the azimuth. The azimuth there is 313, and the altitude is 1344. Now, we might be interested in whether or not we could see Mercury. Well, again, what we can do is move our pointer across here and click on the search icon and type in Mercury. And once we've typed in Mercury, we can click the search button and have a look for Mercury. So at the moment we can't see Mercury. What I can do is remove the land, and what we can see now is that Mercury in fact is below the horizon. So I'll restore the land, and there we are. So that's just a bit of an introduction to the Stellarium. There are other things that we can see with our Stellarium. One of the things which I didn't mention, which I should have right at the start, is how we can click on this icon here and go to a restore view, or we're going to go a smaller view, and you can then have a look at Study Smart window here, and we can have a look at the Stellarium window here. The other thing which we can see here is we can speed the movement up. If I just click on this icon a few times perhaps, we can get our rotation of the Earth going faster and faster. And obviously if I move the mouse back here, we can slow this movement down. There are all sorts of things, all sorts of details that we can find out about the stars and planets. We can, in fact, visit them. Now, if I click, for example, on Jupiter, I can scroll towards it. And I should be able to center it. I'll just freeze the motion and make it bigger. So there you can see that I've made that enlarged and get quite a good view of it. I can scroll back out and again have a look at some other planets simply by moving the pointer across to the left-hand side here and typing in some other planet or sun for that matter. So there you see the sun. As a matter of fact, you can see a couple of sunspots. I was looking at the Soho website the other day and it showed no sunspots. So we've got some today. One other aspect of this stellarium that's worth looking at is constellations. Now, if I move my mouse down to here and click that, it will show us the constellations. Again, if I turn off the light, we can see those better. And if I click on this icon here, then I can see the names of the constellations. Then if I click on this next one, we can see the image of those constellations. Some, of course, we can't see because the land is in the way, so I'll click on this icon here to take that away. I might be interested in one particular constellation, so that might be Orion. So I will type in Orion over here in the search facility and press the search button. And there we can see Orion right there in the center. And I'll make that a bit bigger. So here you can see the various stars which make up Orion. We've got Betelgeuse, that's the name of the constellation. We've got Rigel up here. So that's just a bit of an introduction into our Stellarium, and it's quite a fun program to have a go at. Now, down here where my pointer is at the moment, that's where you click to get out of Stellarium.